Our very first slide is to talk about some things that happened last week. We had lots of members join us for our Ag Edge conference on Thursday and Friday, but the day before that, a week ago today, on February 8th, there was a press conference in the Capitol with nearly 100 people in attendance. You can see on this slide that our Executive First Vice President, Mark McCart, was at the podium. And there were several there, but this was a press conference mostly tailored towards dealing with or leading up to the hearings that were that afternoon. LB 337, which is the governor's proposal for income tax relief, and LB 338, which was introduced by Lydia Brosh, the chairman of the Ag Committee, on behalf of the governor, that deals with ag land valuations. And we're going to talk about those two particular bills in more detail. But it was a very strong showing from the agricultural sector or property owners across the state. Like I said, there were nearly 100 people in attendance. You can see on this slide there are some there. There's a gentleman, as you look at the picture to Mark's right, or the left on the screen, there's a tall gentleman there. His name is Trent Fellers. He's the executive director of the organization that was formed, a grassroots organization called Reform for Nebraska's Future. And their mission is to rally the grassroots folks across the state, whether you're a residential, commercial, or ag property owner, that his organization is pulling together grassroots support from across the state. They were a very significant part of this press conference. They did a great job organizing a lot of it. Some of the other groups that were involved in it include Reform for Nebraska's Future, the Nebraska Cattlemen. These are listed in alphabetical order. Corn growers, Farm Bureau, pork producers, Soybean Association, and State Dairy Association. Some other groups came on board, at close to the time of the press conference. But the message was very straightforward, that ag groups and citizens alike, taxpayers from across the state, support property tax reform. For those of you that have listened in on previous webinars, you know that there's a battle going on in the legislature as to whether there should be income tax relief and reform, or whether there should be property tax. We were part of many meetings during the interim that were focused on seeing if we could do something jointly in those areas. There are many bills in the legislature that are part of the roadmap to resolving the property tax situation. And part of what we're about is building that grassroots momentum and support for those things, to remind the legislature and the governor that property taxes are the number one issue on everybody's mind. As I'm wrapping up some of these introductory comments, I'm going to ask Ansley to join in and talk about what took place at the hearings last Wednesday on LB 337 and 338. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ansley and let her talk about the hearing and those bills.